Hello, everyone, and welcome to Plymouthy Guide. So, this is our 10th video in the beginner portion of our Excel Mastery series. And I think what would be fun for today is if we start to take a couple of the things that we've learned in the form of sum and our order of operations and even the table aspect, um, and begin to leverage that in the form of doing some light nesting. And so I'm going to demonstrate for you here in this mock table where we've got an imaginary company with imaginary employees: Timmy, Tommy, Tammy, Tony, and of course, Frank. Um, this company has decided that they want to issue a biannual bonus, and we, of course, can imagine that maybe the list of employees is 6,000 employees long, and so that would effectively give us two tables where we have a sum of 12,000 lines, right? I mean, you can imagine multiple columns, multiple rows, and don't be intimidated by the size of a data set. Functions remain essentially the same. The only thing that's ever going to change is the range, right? So maybe you pull your range for 10 rows, maybe you pull your range for 10,000 rows, but the function itself remains the same. So let's see what the company has set for its parameters to determine who's going to win this biannual bonus. They've determined that new customers are valued at 20 units each, sales are valued at 1 unit each, and in order to be eligible for the bonus, to even be in the discussion, you have to have a minimum of 800 sales over the first 6 months of this year here. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work through this as though um, I was this person's go-to Excel aficionado, and that they asked me to find out who's the winner of this biannual bonus. And um, this is not uncommon. As you get more Excel savvy, um, your your areas of responsibility within a company that you work for uh, will will start to become, you know, like 70% your regular duties, and then like 30% all these other random Excel related tasks. And it's good because it just proves that you are value add on top of what the company hired you for, right? They hired you to perform this job, but in addition to this job, you're incredibly useful to this department and that department and analyzing this data, and so that's always a good thing to have. Uh, you can never have too much usefulness. Okay, so let's get to it. The CEO, let's say, comes and he asks, "Help me determine who's going to win this bonus." So what I would do is I would start with writing a sum function, and I would say, "Okay, let's sum the sales." Since that's pretty straightforward, right? Those are valued at one apiece, and I'm going to use F4 to lock in the columns because that's just good practice. And I'm going to want to drag this down. So I don't want to lock in the rows, just the columns. So sum D5 to I5. And then I'm going to hold control because I also want to sum the new customer. So I'll hold down my control button and I'll drag this range. And you can see by holding down the control button, it's automatically put that comma in there, which is uh, like saying and some D5 to I5 and D13 to I13, right? And so we can close this sum function and we can get our answer. And of course, we can quickly drag uh, these two ranges, and we can see down here at the bottom of my screen, I get 1453, 1453 works beautifully. But that's not exactly the number we're going for, right? We're going for this D 13 to I13. Each one of those is valued uh, at 20 units each. Okay. So what do I do in here? I'm summing this range and this range. But this range is needs some function to happen to it first before I can add it to the sales. And so, first things first, because something needs to happen here initially, we're going to just wrap it in its own set of parentheses so that now we've created our first level of nest. And so I'm going to say that I want this to be a sum and open parenthesis. And because we've already started Excel on the path of, this is a function, we don't need to create another equals sum. We can just bypass the equals and write sum or if or count if. Okay, getting sidetracked. So I want to sum open parenthesis, close parenthesis around that range times 20, because each one of the units in that range is worth, or each one of the new customers in that range is worth 20 units. Now, by entering 20, that's you might hear this referred to as hard entering or like a static number. I think I've heard it most referred to as hard entering. But when you hard enter a number, it ceases to become a variable, and to make your formulas as useful as possible, you want to uh, increase its compatibility with variability instead of just being able to be used one time in one scenario. So here, the way that I've written it, sum the new customers, and again, if I click in here, you can see the red is my new customers. In this scenario, each new customer is worth 20 whatever, 20 units, 20 points, 20 whatever. But if instead of 20, I say times whatever's in this cell, now the CEO or whomever can make a new customer valued at 50 units or 6 units or whatever. And by simply changing the areas that identify as like data entry points, this table transforms from kind of like a static thing into a variable outcome formula. So because this is a cell, just this is out here all by itself, I'm going to lock in, I'm going to press F4. I'm going to lock in both the column and the row. All right, because as I drag this formula around, I don't want it to ever change referencing this box. So I pressed F4, I locked in the column and the row. And so now as we read this, we see sum the range of the sales and sum the range of the customers times whatever value the customer is worth. Okay. And press enter, and we get 2767. And if we grab these two, and I might have to do a quick little shortcut here, equals sum this times 20. So if we grab this and that, we get 2767. Yes. Okay. Gravy. All right, and you should always be in the practice. Never trust your formula. Trusting your formula is like trusting that you are flawless. And I can assure you, even the best of us are flawed when writing our formulas or honestly doing anything. We're human, so always double check your formulas. Do the math the long way for at least 1 or 2 points to ensure that your formula is functioning properly. Okay, so now we have, yeah, we've got the sales, we've got the new customers times how much each customer is worth. Now we can draw this down and drag that down, and we can see that we have a ringer. That's what we have. Somebody way out in front. Um, but we also need to address this 800 for entry because maybe they decide not only is there a biannual bonus, but maybe there's a runner up and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. But the point is, we need to address this 800 sales minimum for entry. And so now we can take our formula, which is here, and we can wrap this whole thing in an if statement. So we can say if this whole formula, nope, it's just sales. So we can say if the sum, open parenthesis, of this, and let's lock in our columns, close the parenthesis. If the sum of that range is less than 800, and now so that is our logical test. So if the sum of this range is less than 800, now we want to move to the next portion of the if statement, comma. If that's true, if it's less than 800, I want you to do open the quotes, not eligible, close quotes. Now, if that's false, right, we need to move to the next part of the statement of the if formula. So we'll comma, do this whole formula. So if the sum of this range is less than 800, I want you to write not eligible. If not, go ahead and perform the calculation, the full calculation to include new customers. And then we'll come all the way out here to the end, and we need to close the parenthesis on our if statement. And you can see, just to be sure here, we've got purple, red, white, and we've got purple, red, and white. And of course, as we traverse across a set of parentheses, you can see that the other side of the parenthesis, its partner is highlighting bold momentarily. Okay, so now I know I'm all good. So I'm going to press enter, and then I'm going to drag that down. There you go. So we have four people eligible, and one person not eligible because they only got 777 sales in the first 6 months. So four people are eligible. One person is the dead ringer. So that's how we can establish, excuse me, who are um, who our awardee is for the biannual bonus. Now, each one of these is a formula in itself, and we could go ahead and continue nesting and uh, getting more complex with our formula writing, um, to put all of this into just one single cell, and we could bring back the name. um, I don't think that that's appropriate for this level of instruction at this point in our series, but I think what we've got here is really good, and I think it's digestible for beginners, especially after the first 9 videos in which we've discussed some of these things. So, we had some of a range. That's a very uh, simple formula, right? And we've incorporated our order of operations by utilizing the parentheses. We've incorporated an if statement, and we've mixed, text with our formula. And so if you build up your formula a little bit at a time, and you continue to practice this, um, you'll be writing complex nested formulas in no time. And we could have incorporated count. Um, we could have incorporated some if, all these things, but I think this is an appropriate level. So if you found this helpful, um, and if you're still watching, I sure do appreciate you sticking around. As always, forward this video or forward my channel on to someone who you think maybe could benefit from these sort of tutorials. And if you've watched videos 1 through 10 in this beginner series, um, congratulations. I'm proud of you. Way to take that step into mastering Excel. And I'll see you in the intermediate series. I look forward to it. I hope you do too. See ya.